Alrighty! Today I'm going to be taking you through everything that I've done to drop my 40-yard dash significantly. Listen, I've dropped my 40-yard dash down from 5.15 seconds to 4.67 seconds. I've made so much progress, it's outrageous, and you can too. In this video it's going to be a full guide, everything that I've done. It's going to be stuff that you've never seen before, but I can guarantee it's going to get you faster. So let's get into it. Alright mate, so we're going to go through a couple slides. I'm going to take you through everything that's helped me to sprint really fast. This is going to be some stuff that you've never seen before, but I can guarantee you will get faster if you listen to everything in this video. By the way, before we actually get into it, I'd just like to mention I have a free weekly newsletter where I send out weekly tips, so you can sign up for that if you want. Sign up for that before the end of the video. Right, let's get into it. First of all, sprinting. I have done loads of sprinting. Okay, since January 2024, I've sprinted every single week, at least once a week. And that has allowed me to get super fast. You see, this is all about the law of specificity. I was slow, so what do you think I would have wanted to do to get faster? Sprinting, right? What would a painter do if they wanted to get better at painting? They would paint more. So why are you trying to get faster doing plyometrics and then not sprinting? You're not going to get fast by doing that. And I actually fell into that trap personally. Yeah, same with the jumping. Right, I did all these plyometrics and I tried doing that so that I could jump higher and sprint faster. Of course it didn't work because I wasn't trying to jump as high as possible and touch the net or whatever, and I wasn't trying to sprint as fast as possible. I was simply just getting good at plyometrics, which made no sense. So yeah, sprinting is a fast short ground contact time activity, and it has insanely high ground reaction forces, both horizontally during acceleration and then vertically during upright sprinting. You're also going to develop your fast twitch muscle fibers, which are so essential for sprinting, right? The more fast twitch muscle fibers you have, the faster you're going to sprint. It's also going to develop your elasticity, which will enable you to sprint faster. The other thing is that sprints self-intensify. So as you get better and better, as you start sprinting faster and faster, the sprints themselves become more and more intense and serve to continue overloading your body and spurring on adaptations. These adaptations help you to sprint faster. So there you go. You got to sprint. So I would suggest you to sprint 2 to 3 times per week, 100 to 200 meters per session. You can split this into maybe a day of acceleration and a day of top end speed. So you might do one day of 40-yard dashes and then one day of 20-meter sprints or 20-yard sprints. That would be really good. So some important things to bear in mind for this is that you have to be sprinting above 95% of your max speed, otherwise you're not going to stimulate the CNS enough so that you can get faster. Simple, right? You have to be sprinting above 95% of your max speed, otherwise you're not going to get fast. So how are we going to make sure that we're sprinting above 95% of our max speed? Well, we're going to rest in between sets. 1 minute per 10 meters sprinted. If you sprint for 20 meters, you're going to rest at least 2 minutes. You're also going to warm up really well. That will enable you to perform your best possible. That's going to enable you to sprint above 95% of your max speed. Boom, you get faster. Next, you've got to be resting 24 to 72 hours between sessions. This enables you to be fresh and recovered so you can actually sprint really fast. Look, there's no single better movement pattern for increasing general athletic capabilities than sprinting. So not only will sprinting get you faster, it's also going to help you with loads of other athletic capabilities. Sprinting has been shown in a study to provide better results in terms of strength, power and agility than traditional plyometric training. It's super powerful. Not only this, but it was shown to increase the velocity at which baseball pitchers could pitch at. Basically, you're just training your CNS when you do sprints. So not only will you get faster, you will also improve those other attributes. You're also going to get more jacked, right? If you're like a bodybuilder, it's going to help you massively. Sprinting is anabolic as hell. Sprinting increases your testosterone and human growth hormone, and also when you do sprints you develop your fast twitch muscle fibers. Fast twitch muscle fibers grow quicker and bigger than slow twitch muscle fibers. So it's anabolic as hell. You're going to get jacked if you do sprints. And I can tell you now, the people I know who do sprints are much more jacked than the people who don't and just lift. So there you go. It's also going to help you be stronger, right? If you're sprinting, you're going to develop your fast twitch muscle fibers. Fast twitch muscle fibers enable you to be explosive. Explosiveness means you can lift a lot of weight, right? The Olympic sprinters are very strong. You know, people like Noah Lyles can clean ridiculous weight. They're very strong, and it's more to do with their sprints than anything else, to be honest. Sprinting will help you get stronger. Getting stronger won't necessarily make you faster, is the way you want to look at it. The majority of your training, if you want to get faster, has to be out of the weight room. Oh, and sprinting will also benefit your endurance. So, the way I explain this is, imagine you have two athletes. Athlete A can run at 8 meters per second, and athlete B can run at 10 meters per second. Athlete B is going to get less tired, because if in a game you have to run at, let's say, 5 meters per second, it takes less out of the person who can run 10 meters per second than the person who runs at 8 meters per second, right? It's a lower threshold, right? So it benefits your endurance massively in terms of, you know, a sport environment, yeah? So if you're a rugby player, a football player, or soccer, it's going to benefit you massively. Next, sleds. Sleds have helped me tremendously. They're a very potent tool, especially for your acceleration, right? Because it increases your horizontal force production, your ability to be powerful in a horizontal orientation. The best way I think of doing this is starting heavier and working down to lighter. When you're working with a heavy weight, you are forced to get into the right positions and produce a lot of force. Otherwise, it just won't budge. Okay? You can't push a sled. You can't pull a sled fast without, you know, having the right technique. And it is a technique tool, really. It helps you get into the right positions for acceleration. If you're pushing downwards, the sled is not going to move. But if you're pushing down and back, the sled is going to move. That it forces you into the acceleration mechanics, and it also just makes you better at acceleration. If you're pulling a sled and getting good at that and getting thousands of reps in on that, you're going to get faster. That should be common sort of knowledge. But yeah, so for example, you start at 50% VDEC, velocity decrement, or 50 to 70% body weight. I prefer thinking about it in terms of body weight because most people don't really understand how to calculate VDEC. So 50 to 70% body weight, then you go down to 25 to 50, then you go down to 10 to 20%. The idea is that if you've done the 70% body weight, you're going to have the right angles, the right positions, so that when you finally go down to the 10%, you're going to be in the right positions, but just moving faster. And that's going to transfer to acceleration. Yeah, you're going to get very good at horizontal force production with the sleds. You're going to get very good technique in terms of your actual foot positioning, your body projection, stuff like that. So sleds are really potent, especially if you're trying to improve your acceleration. Next, let's talk about strength. So you need to increase your force. Look, acceleration, especially early acceleration, is all about force. The more force you can produce horizontally, the faster you're going to be able to sprint. The best sprinters are very, very strong. So you've got to get strong. Yeah, you need to be able to produce more force so you can sprint faster, especially in early acceleration. So I'm going to talk you through some laws you must follow in terms of the lifting. So the law of progressive overload. You need to increase either intensity, weight, or volume, sets and reps, week to week. Otherwise you won't improve. And this is where I like to link it into the story of Milo and the bull. Milo of Croton was an ancient Greek wrestler who I believe won the gold medal for wrestling in the ancient Greek Olympic Games a number of times, maybe 5 times, I can't remember. But he was tasked with carrying this bull up and down the mountain every single day. And it started off as a very small bull, like a baby. I think you call it a calf, don't you? Yeah. So he had to carry that up and down every day. And as it slowly grew, Milo got stronger and stronger. And eventually he got to the stage where he could carry a full-grown bull up and down this mountain. But if you'd have given him the full-grown bull on the first day, he wouldn't have been able to carry it up and down the mountain. But it's the fact that the slow increases in weight and size, that's what enabled him to be able to do that. And you know, the progressive overload of that helped him to be a very good wrestler. As you can imagine, carrying a bull would massively help you to be good at wrestling. So that is just a little ancient Greek story I like to teach about the progressive overload, and it's quite a powerful one. You know, if you increase the weight every week, you'll get to the stage where you can have some pretty impressive lifts, and that will carry over to your sprints for sure. Next, the law of diminishing returns. So the same workout will work less over time, and eventually it will make you worse. So if you do squats every single week, initially it's going to help your acceleration massively, right? But that's going to slowly taper off, and eventually you'll get to the stage where you can make no more progress, and then eventually you'll start getting worse from it. So that's why you've got to defeat it with the law of variety. You need to do different exercises and different variations to keep adapting and getting better. For example, you don't do back squats forever, you change the depth, you do pause squats, box squats, belt squats, front squats, leg presses, etc. You just need to vary it around. A rule I like to follow is that don't do the exact same thing for more than 2 months. That helps me massively. Next, the law of individuality. We're all different. What works for you may not work for me. So don't beat yourself up if something doesn't work. So you might see massive gains in your sprint speed by doing leg press, but I might not. Does it mean I'm a bad athlete? Absolutely not. It just means we're different, and in fact, if I did maybe Bulgarian split squats, I would see better progress than you. So you've got to follow all these laws, and from it you will be able to sprint faster, get stronger, achieve your goals. So now we're going to go into some lifts. So the Bulgarian split squat, in my opinion, is the best lift apart from Olympic lifts for acceleration. It's specific, right? You're on one leg. Not many gym exercises you're actually on one leg, but when you sprint, you're on one leg as well. Additionally, it has angles that you see in early stance and whenever the glute is fully lengthened. So by getting stronger in these positions, you're going to be able to accelerate faster. And the fact it's on one leg as well makes it even more specific. If you can get really strong on this, I believe that your acceleration will be very good. This is a staple lift if you want to get faster. A goal would be to get to 1.5 times body weight on the Bulgarian split squat. Look, that's hard to reach, and elite sprinters don't care about arbitrary strength standards, but if you could get there one day, I think that would be very impressive, and it would for sure show in your acceleration. So go get strong on these. Next, the calf raises. Calf raises are often neglected. You see, the gastroconsolius are the muscles in your calf, and they attach to the Achilles tendon. The Achilles tendon is the ever important spring in your leg that helps you to sprint fast and jump high. When you train by doing calf raises and seated calf raises and the like, you increase the cross-sectional area of your Achilles tendon. This makes it a stiffer and more useful tendon, which allows you to sprint faster and jump higher. So get really freaking strong on the calf raises, do them every single week, it will pay dividends in your sprint speed. Next, squats and half squats. You need to increase your force production, and squats and half squats are an absolute staple for this. Look, you need to get stronger on it. Your squat needs to go up. Elite sprinters don't care about arbitrary strength standards, but if you could get to 2 times body weight on the back squat, the deep back squat that is, you'd be strong. That would show in your acceleration. Go and get really strong on these. Half squats are also really potent. It's obviously a more specific joint angle, a more explosive lift, so it's going to show more in your acceleration. But I think there's a time and a place for both. In a training cycle, we like to go from general to specific, right? So general would be more like deep back squats, and then we'd move to specific, which would be like half squats, right? But you have to do both. By doing the deep back squats, you develop your capacity. Next, power cleans. You need to increase your ability to produce lots of force very quickly, because acceleration is all about RFD, rate of force development. The best way to increase your rate of force development is power cleans. All the best athletes, think about people like Noah Lyles, they do Olympic lifts because it works. I've seen a direct correlation between how high my power clean is and my 10-meter sprint times. It's really important. Now, I know that power cleans are, you're doing rate of force, you're producing lots of force very quickly in a vertical orientation, but it still transfers to acceleration, which is in a horizontal orientation. But yeah, it's really important for building your acceleration. And yeah, learning the power clean is actually more simple than you think. I think most people could learn it in less than a week. It could probably take maybe 2 days, maybe 2 hours of work to learn the power clean. Basically, you've got to use an empty barbell and just rep it out hundreds of times. And you can also do a progression where you'll start from like a hang clean, and then you'll work your way down further and further until you can actually do a full-on power clean. The hang clean is actually more specific to sprinting, by the way. Yeah, you can also do squat jumps to develop this rate of force development, but it's not as potent as the power clean because you're not moving as much weight. Next, the RDL. You need to increase your hamstring and glute strength. These are crucial muscles for sprinting. It's simple as that. If you get stronger with them, you're going to sprint faster. Next, squat jumps. They're a really good tool for increasing rate of force development. As I said, not as good as power cleans, but still very good. The way I like to use these is I superset them with my squats, or my Bulgarian split squats, or whatever my quad movement is, for a phenomenon called PAP, post-activation potentiation, which is basically where after doing a set of squats, your leg muscles and your muscles are more activated than they would be if you were just fully fresh. So that enables you to actually be a lot more forceful with your squat jumps and allows you to perform better and thus see better adaptations from it. So it's actually a really good tool, PAP. And if you think about it, like, I don't know, hitting, let's say punching a wall as hard as you could. If you punched a wall as hard as you could, like 2 times, and then you took away the wall, you would punch harder. But if you were just punching the air, you wouldn't punch as hard. That's actually a really crap example, but I don't know, I hope it makes sense. PAP is real, it does work. Next, we're going to talk about plyometrics. So plyometrics are actually really important, but I think a lot of people do them wrong. A lot of people fall into the trap of doing broad jumps. A lot of people fall into the trap of doing box jumps. Broad jumps are really good, as we'll talk about later, but box jumps are just not great. The thing is, you're only getting the concentric, you're only getting the jump, you're not actually getting the landing phase, which makes it crap. As well, it's also vertical force production, which isn't the best for sprinting. So yeah. Anyways, broad jump. So the broad jump highly correlates with sprint speed. That was shown in the study Sergio et al. 2021. And there's even calculators online where you can put in your broad jump and it will estimate your sprint speed. And it's actually pretty accurate. Acceleration is dependent on how much horizontal force and power you can produce. And that is exactly what the broad jump tests. Get better at broad jumps, you're going to sprint faster. I know that is a fact. I can guarantee that. So you should aim to get to 300 centimeters plus in the broad jump. If you can get there, you'd be at an elite standard. The way you're going to get there is by doing broad jumps 2 times a week. That's going to help you to get very good at broad jumps. Alright, do your broad jumps, mate. Next, triple broad jumps. I haven't really got much to say. It's basically just broad jumps, but probably more specific to later acceleration. A normal broad jump is more specific to early acceleration, where you're producing force from a standstill, but triple broad jumps is that deep ranges of motion, and just repeated using the SSC. It's really, really good. I like the triple broad jump. I like the fact with these jumps you can track them a lot more than you could with like a box jump or whatever. You can try get better every single time. That's what I like about them. So you should aim to get to 28 feet plus. If you can get there, you'll be athletic as hell. You'll be pretty good at acceleration, if I'm being honest. Next, standing triple jump. Again, it's really good. Single leg. Well, it's broad jump to 1, 2, land. So yeah, it's good for acceleration. Horizontal force. Same with the broad jumps. Repeated, so yeah, it's good. Next, the hurdle jumps. These are a very potent tool for improving your RSI, your reactive strength index. And the reactive strength index is a very important index for sprinting. If you have a higher RSI, you'll sprint faster. And good sprinters are very good at hurdle jumps. We want to get better at stuff that good sprinters are good at, so do hurdle jumps. Next, let's talk about technique. So these are some cues that really help me, and will help you to make your sprint form look better than 90% of athletes. So in terms of acceleration, you want to throw your shoulders forward, right? That causes that body projection. Throw your shoulders out in front of you. Then with the knees, you want to drive your knees down and back for the first 3 steps, and then drive the knee down every step after that. That really helps with being forceful in a horizontal motion. So I just think down and back, down and back, down and back, and then down, 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 stab the floor. So that really helped my acceleration big time. Big time. That was massive. And technique is one of those things that you do and it just improves you in like one day. Right. It's a quick fix, low hanging fruit. Top speed, you want to land under your hips, drive down into the ground. Think about stabbing the ground. Keep your hips straight, tuck your glutes in, stand tall with a tight core. That is going to help you have your sprint form look better than 90% of athletes. If you can actually apply those and just think about them in your head every time you sprint, down and back, down and back, down and back, throw your shoulders forward, land under your hips, stab the ground, this kind of thing. Maybe take a screenshot of this page. But yeah, really, really important tips. Honestly, this is very valuable. Next, the training model. We follow a high-low training model. The high-low training plan is alternating days of high and low CNS stress. This allows you to sufficiently recover. You keep your high days high. For example, you sprint and do a leg session on the same day. Then you keep your low days low. For example, you do upper body or you rest. This training model seriously changed my athleticism. For example, on Monday we do sprints and legs, Tuesday we do upper body, Wednesday we do sprints, Thursday we do rest, Friday jumps and legs, Saturday upper body, Sunday, I don't know why it says subscribe? Joke. You can subscribe if you want. Sunday rest. Next, thank you for watching. So I'd just like to mention that we've got a 8-week speed training program I've made. We've actually had some clients make crazy progress already. 8-week speed training program. I'm selling it pretty cheap right now. Get your hands on it, get better. Not much more to say really. Check it out for yourself. That will be down below. Subscribe if you want. You don't have to, mate, but you can. And I'll see you in the next one. So yeah, cheers boys. See you in the next one.